Welcome to the Brand and Market Podcast, the show for short-term rental owners who want to turn their listings into legacies. I'm your host, Allie Haney, owner and co-host of multiple properties and founder of Brand and Market, where we help Airbnb hosts and short-term rental investors build intentional brands, smart marketing systems, and guest experiences that actually move the needle. Each week, I share practical strategies, real-life stories, and behind-the-scenes insights to help you attract the right guests, increase bookings, and run your rental like a business, so you too can be the best in your brand and your market. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the short and sweet summer series. It is summertime. We've got 3 young kids at home and we are making do with what we got. So these episodes are meant to be 5 to 10 minutes long, either about something that is currently going on in Airbnb or my hosting world, or of course, one thing that you can do better in your branding or your marketing for your hospitality business. Today, we are going to be chit-chatting about what it's like to purchase a current Airbnb listing that already has future reservations on the books. We previously did this with one of our properties in Virginia. Her name is Luna, and we had quite a turbulent closing on that one. The previous owners did not notify us of all of those future reservations. And so on closing day, we actually found out that there was going to be a guest that was checking in on closing day, and they did not tell us what the protocol was. There was not anything in the contract stating what was the best way to move forward with those reservations in the future, especially that one that had to check in on the day of closing. So basically what we have figured out throughout that experience, as well as another experience in Montana, which is a place that we are actively looking to acquire a property in now, or at least we have a family member that's looking to acquire a property, and I would be the one doing the operations of it. But there were kind of a few different ways to go about it. The first way to go about it was to allow those reservations to continue to go through, shut down the calendar on their Airbnb listing, and have us create a new Airbnb listing for moving forward through the future while blocking the dates that were already booked from the previous owner. That specific option to me didn't feel great because we would have to trust them to pay us out for those reservations because those reservations were under their previous Airbnb listing, and therefore their bank account information was connected to that Airbnb listing. They would be receiving the payout, and then we would have to count on them to pay it forward to us. That in and of itself doesn't bother me too terribly much, but the liability piece of it, of those guests being in a house that's in our name now, without having, and under our homeowners insurance, without any proof of them being there, that was the issue that I had with it. So on that closing day, I was like, I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to cancel that reservation. We are not going to be hosting them. So moving forward, the other options are that you could cancel the reservations on the old Airbnb listing, because as we all know, on Airbnb, there's no way for one listing to be transferred from one owner to another. So you always do have to start that new Airbnb listing and start from scratch with reviews. I'm sure there's probably some way to navigate switching out, if it's only the one property on the Airbnb account that they could potentially, you could purchase the account and the purchase of the house, perhaps. But to me, it feels a little bit sticky, a little bit gray, especially if they have other properties that's attached to that account. There's not really a clean way to do it. So I would recommend starting that new Airbnb listing eventually. The other thing is that you could either cancel it on the previous Airbnb, the original Airbnb listing where they originally booked, and then send them the new Airbnb link for them to be able to book again through your listing as opposed to the previous owner's listing. To me, that also didn't scream a great guest experience. So the third option is to simply cancel the reservations and start fresh with new guests and a new listing. Look, y'all know the tagline for this podcast is turning listings into legacies. We start a short-term rental business for one of 2 reasons. We either really love real estate or we really love hospitality. But what if I told you that you could do both and do them both well? Lodgify is how I do that. I can run an operationally sound and therefore profitable business while also loving on my guests and leaving some margin for some unreasonable hospitality. Lodgify can help you create your own direct booking site, manage your reservations and guest messages, automate the back end of your business, and stop depending entirely on other platforms that you don't control. Lodgify helps you build your business, something sustainable, something that allows you to love on your guests, and something that helps you turn your listing into a legacy. Use my code BMPOD20 for a special discount until the end of July. That's BMPOD20 for 20% off all yearly Lodgify plans. Cheers, y'all. Since that acquisition, I've learned even more in terms of what we could have done in that type of situation that I didn't think of within that situation. When we were going through, and it's still like an active thing that we're going through, my aunt is looking at purchasing a property in Montana. That we looked at some properties that were not Airbnbs at all, in which case this conversation does not apply because you would be starting everything fresh from your account anyway. There was one that we looked at that is currently an Airbnb, and we would be purchasing it in the height of season. So they had already had multiple bookings for the remainder of, July through the end of September, beginning of October. We wanted to capitalize on those listings because we knew they had booked them at the higher nightly rate for it being in season. And we were trying to think of a way outside of the options that I just presented to you to be able to capitalize on those reservations, those bookings, without having them have that clunky experience of having to cancel on one listing and rebook on another listing. And the answer became our property management system, Lodgify. Why didn't I think about that back in Luna days? I'm not sure why, because we had immediately Luna hooked up to Lodgify to have them on our management platform and therefore be able to create that custom direct booking site. But that way, that would alleviate my issue with the liability side of things because I can have them sign their rental agreement and everything that we would normally do, accept the deposit, all of those things through the direct booking site, rather than having to have them cancel on an Airbnb listing and book on another Airbnb listing. To me, that just feels a little bit sketchy. But as a guest, if I'm okay, well, I see that it's going through a change in ownership and these owners already have their direct booking site up, they're legit. They haven't wasted any time. They're still pre-closing and they already have their T's crossed and I's dotted. And I can see that it's a legitimate site. I trust them. It's just a little bit more trustworthy, a little bit familiarity, right? And so I was okay, if we end up getting this Montana property that already has these existing bookings, as soon as the offer is accepted, I'm going to start inputting all of that data, all of that information to create the listing for the Montana house into Lodgify so that as soon as we close, they are immediately able to go and rebook their dates. And I will send them the direct link to be able to do so. And so that is a way around having to do I start a new Airbnb listing? Do I continue to take the reservations on the previous one? Do I trust them to pay me out? Do I trust the liability and the guests in the house without, with it being under my name? All of those things alleviated with the direct booking site. So if you don't already have one, I highly encourage you get a property management system. And therefore, anytime in those types of situations, if you're looking to grow your portfolio, if the property is an existing short-term rental, you are able to pull those future bookings pretty easily from the guest's side and alleviate any friction that the guest experience might have because of that change in ownership. So that's my quick tip for today. If you're looking to acquire a new short-term rental that already has bookings, hook it up to your direct booking site, your property management system ASAP, and you will be golden. Cheers to being the best in your brand and your market. Till next time, y'all. You just completed another episode of the Brand Market Podcast. If you found this helpful, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find this show and so that you never miss an episode. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for all the resources mentioned today. See you next Wednesday, and as always, I'm here cheering you on as you build your dream brand and business.